whole thing you get from no theater. Anyway, I kind of went off on a side thing.
No, that's fine. But it was a question about Japanese aesthetic. Maybe maybe you had a natural propensity to that aesthetic to begin with.
I think
and
I
that may
did,
have been the reason they were drawn to your work.
That's what everybody says. Well, of course you got in this show in Japan because look at your work. Well, if you look at a lot of Japanese art, I mean, especially nowadays, it's gone away from the clean kind of thing we think about to more cartoony pop culture kind of things, which is great. I mean, things change,
Right.
but I think I always had that feeling for that. This no theater thing is just an extra attraction that I got. Plus, our travels to Japan and dealing with our friends in Japan, that's been like a really valuable thing for both of us because just knowing artists in different countries is sort of invaluable. I mean, because we all deal with exactly the same thing. Exactly.
Right.
No one ever has enough money. No one ever has enough shows. But this is all you want to do.
Right. Right.
Of course, we all want to go to Japan. They all want to come here.
Right. So that commission was pretty big for you.
That was the first big commission. I think
Yeah.
it was $30,000 now. I can't remember, but
Yeah,
something like that.
you haven't slowed down with public commissions. I mean,
Well,
that's something that really kind of keeps you busy.
It does keep you busy, and I got a couple of little stories about that. My brother one time said, my brother's always had a great job. He was a math teacher for a while. He was a school administrator for a while. His wife's been a counselor, and they're
Right.
retired now. They're doing fine. But even though I've known him all my life, this money thing always comes up. He goes, he said, you got that in Japan? He said, and you just got this thing for this blah, 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 blah. So that's $100,000. That's this. He said, man, you get 3 or 4 of those a year, you're set. And I went, I get one of those every 7 years. What are you talking about? I mean,
Right.
it's like, that's the deal. I mean, on the surface, it looks like
Yeah.
we're constantly busy with these gigantic things because they take so long. And a lot of times they do pay money, a lot of money or some money, and that's how we get by. But, it takes 2 or 3 years on these things, and it's like constant work.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're seeing my mouth going to do this. And another thing, I say this, I think this is funny. And I think everybody should think this is funny. And the joke is, I've got some good news and bad news. Good news is I got the commission. Bad news is I got the commission.
Right.
I think that's hilarious because, you're so overjoyed to get these things. And then things always can go wrong.
Yeah.
You can always fix them. But it's like you get this, you're so happy, and then it's like, oh my God. 9 times out of 10, and maybe 99% of the time, you can pull it off. You can pull it off, that's the wrong word. You can make it happen.
But it's a learning process because it's like, you don't, when you start, you're not really sure how you're gonna, pull it off, but you figure out, okay, this is how people do this,
You basically have to find the best people you can possibly find. Not the most expensive sometimes, but the best people you can find to do the stuff that you have no idea how to do, or the stuff that you know how to do that they can do much better.
Right.
You get those people around you. First of all, you get this confidence thing going where, they're not going to let everybody fail here,
Right.
and it can be done. If you get way ahead of yourself and go, oh great, I just got something for $1 million. Great, I'm a millionaire. You're an idiot, man.
Right.
Because 9 times out of 10. Or 75% of the time, you're going to have to pay out the nose for something that you had no idea was going to cost that much money.
Right.
So you really, it can really shrink down. And again, it's not about the money. That's not why we do these things. We try to make a living, and we try to make enough where we can continue making artwork. It's not to be billionaires or the most important person. But you can't constantly lose money on them. You have to make some profit, and we've been very fortunate through Frances's handling of things and our being pretty not stingy, but we frugal with the way we do things, but not frugal when it comes down to if you really have to have something, we'll spend what it takes,
Right.
But we're not going to throw money away on something that's idiotic to make us feel better.
Right.
I'll solve that tomorrow. we'll give a bunch of money that it'll be done. Well, no, maybe you think about it for an extra month and then it's done right and everybody's happier, That's the kind of stuff you deal with constantly. And I think my wife might have brought this up to you at one point. We really just want to be in the studio working all day on work.
Yeah.
And when you're dealing with these big things, sometimes it keeps you from doing that. That's bothers the wrong word. I mean, we're doing what we love to do, but we would like to be in the studio as much as possible, thinking about our work.
Right. The intrinsic reward for you, is it making something that you look at and you personally say, I love this piece, or is it knowing that someone else is going to have a unique emotional experience with your work? Or do you think about the legacy of your work and 40, 50 years from now, it still being here affecting people?
I think it's all those. Every one of those things you said is what I would want to happen with the piece. It's something. Okay, something you've developed from model stage or idea stage, and then you finally get to stand in front of it. Boy, that is the best feeling in the world. To know that someone else can stand in front of that and either have exactly the same feeling you have, or maybe some other feeling that I don't have. They may hate it, but it's a feeling, and in other words, to connect to someone else. That's so important too. And then the legacy part, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what's going to be like in 50 years. I know when I was a kid and I saw things that were done from artists in the past, it turned me on. I mean, that those kind of things that really, really, really helped my career, seeing work by artists from the past. Robert Irwin had these two great pieces, those disc pieces, at the RISD Museum, and I don't know if it's the same ones that the Wachowskis have at their house, but he had two of them at the RISD Museum, and I can remember as a student looking at those things going, that's the most intelligent thing and the simplest thing and the most beautiful thing I think I've ever seen. It was shadows.
He's still making work.
I know he is, and it's like
in his mid-90s.
So that's, so the legacy is very important too. You get this problem, especially for outdoor pieces and stuff, if people will take care of them as they should, which is very, very important, and you can only trust that they will. Right. And when we make these things, we make them to last. We make them to where people should follow a way to maintain them. If they choose not to, at some point it's out of our hands, but you hope they would,
So the Wildlife Water Theater, it didn't survive.
No.
And so how do you feel about that?
Well, it's funny. Frances and I did that together as a total collaboration, and I saw it in one way, she saw it in a different way, but collaborated together, and it worked out as a pretty tremendous piece, which a lot of people loved, I got to tell you. And we spent about a year going around to public meetings, not trying to sell this. They'd already said, we want you to do this. But to assure people that this wouldn't damage the ecology, wouldn't have any impact on nature, really. It's a visual thing at the lake. Now, we found out later, some people even thought that was too much, that there should be nothing at the lake, like artwork. Well, it was a surprise to us, because that's why they hired us, Right. It was unfortunate in that we put everything we had into that. We didn't lose money doing this thing, but we didn't make much at all. And again, that's not the point. We did something we thought was right for the community. We didn't get.
And it's part of your community, because you live near.
We live close, right. And we. Again, we didn't say, come on, give us a bunch of money, we'll make something and we'll go somewhere else. We maintained it ourselves for 5 years. We only were supposed to do it for 2 years. We did it for 5. There's a picture of us there on the wall in our wetsuits. We look like idiots, but we did that, wiped the bird crap off of them twice a year and stuff. But there was an unfortunate deal that happened with the economy in the city of Dallas, and the funds for maintaining art. It wasn't just ours, it was all the artwork. Couldn't be done. So it fell into disrepair. And, I thought of this just the other day. That swimming dock that's been out there with those light poles has been there since the 40s. And those poles are all cockeyed and everything, and the swimming platform was loaded with crap and beat up. no one ever complained about that. We get the art
Right.
piece out there. I don't know what happened, but it upset a lot of the homeowners around the area. Must not have been the same homeowners that were so convinced that they wanted us to do this thing,
Right.
But they finally got it taken down, and that was a sad day for us in that the piece is gone. Sad for people who really loved it, even if it wasn't. I mean, there was some rusted spots and things were crooked, but Jeremy Strick didn't seem to think so at the National Museum. He thought it was fine and should be maybe, should be there forever,
Right.
But it happened, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate for the city because it doesn't make the city look so good that they would kind of do something like that. I don't know. I shouldn't say that about the city. They hired us to do it, and they did the best they could do. But it's a shame it happened.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. I'm not going to blame anyone for it happening. And this may just be me personally. I don't know. And I don't know. Frances and I, we've talked about this, but my take on it too is if people are really that upset by it, do you really want something out there that's just going to make people ill? I mean, of course that's an exaggeration, but it's like, I mean, some people were really upset by this thing and just said it's ruining the lake and all that. And the equal number of people loved it, I guess.
Right.
But I mean, it's a tough call. It's a real tough call.
If the materials had been different, if there hadn't been light, if it would have seemed more organic, is there a way that those people would have? Is there any chance that those people could have been happy? Are there just some people that are going to be?
Well, here's the problem.
Sticks in the mud regardless.
We did.
It's funny I say stick in the mud. That's a really bad pun.
We used the technology of the times, which was like 1998 or 99 or something.
Right.
So the lights were hand done by her brother, by Frances's brother, and best you could get at the time, the best wiring you could get at the time. We bolted onto the concrete under, whatever you call it, the part underneath the bath area that was concreted in the 20s or 30s. We bolted into that. We did everything, hired underwater divers to do all this stuff. We did everything we thought would make this thing last. And of course, things happened with the concrete we weren't aware of. Things happened with the lighting we weren't aware of. The being in the water caused some problems.
Right.
Maybe if the budget had been bigger in the beginning, I don't know. Maybe if there had been more budget to maintain it more over the years, it might have lasted. I don't know. It's a tough call, Right. Kind of the way we felt at the end was maybe just let it be there. Whatever happens. If it gets dangerous, then by all means take something away. But if something, instead of being white, is now kind of mossy green at some part, maybe that's okay. Maybe that's what happens at a lake,
Right.
But that some people don't think that. We thought differently. But again, it's over and done, and we'll see what happens next. Sorry it happened.
Yeah.
I'm glad we did it. I'm glad we did the piece, but I'm sorry that had to happen.
Right. So that experience you had in with the display company, did your stuff start getting bigger after that? Like, did that help you kind of get a sense of larger scale?
I think it might have. And this is going back. This is let's see. Was that before Japan? That was before Japan too. Yeah. Things started getting bigger. As a matter of fact, working for this display company, they used to have a bunch of mini warehouses over off of Industrial, and like. A couple of them were vacant, so I just took that over one time and did a piece in there and photographed it, and then later did it at 500X as a reunion show.
That's funny.
So I borrowed one of their places.
I saw one of your pieces. I think it was a floating mountain.
Oh yeah.
It looked like
it was big.
Yeah, it looked big, and it looked like that wasn't built in a day. I mean, that was.
That's a good story too. That was Frances and I did a show at University of Texas at Arlington, and she had one side of the gallery and I had the other, and they were pretty big. I guess 60 feet wide or something. We had just gotten back from Japan, and I remember on the train we'd seen Mount Fuji, and it's like this great thing floating in midair. So I thought, ooh, I think I'll build a floating mountain, And I thought, how do you do that? And I had done some pieces earlier where I took that concrete wire, which you could buy huge sheets, like I think they were 8 feet by 20. I think you could get, or 8 by 20. Real cheap, like $6.